Sounds interesting.
Are you with me?
All the way.
So Rogue One, A Star Wars Story is directed by Gareth Edwards, and it stars Felicity Jones, Donnie Yen, Forrest Whitaker, and many more. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan for any of you who don't know, so I was very excited for Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and came away really enjoying the film. And it makes me really happy to say that this first anthology movie in the series was a really good way to start things off. I thought this movie really succeeded in a lot of ways, but also fell flat in a couple key areas that I really was disappointed to see. So starting off, let's get into the performances. I think Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso is very good. I don't think her character is really given that much to do, but I think she's good for what she does, and she has one scene where she really gives some emotional range and depth, and I really appreciated that. But overall, her performance was a little bit flat to me. And then getting into Donnie Yen as this kind of almost force-wielding blind character, I thought he was really good in this role. Although his character is a little bit one-dimensional, I still really enjoyed his performance and felt like he was possibly the most compelling character in the film. Now, leading right off of Donnie Yen, I think Alan Tudyk's voicing of K2SO in this movie is nothing short of brilliant. I think he's really funny, and his comedic timing is really creative and really well done, and he still kind of has this robotic feeling to him, even though he is so good at cracking jokes. Now, it's kind of hard for me to talk about the acting without going into the characters, which unfortunately is my biggest issue with this movie. And not to start the review off with a negative, but the characters in this movie, they're very weak in my opinion, and really disappointed me when I was watching the movie is how weak all these characters were for me. And I just felt like almost no emotion came from any of these characters. I felt like each character just kind of had their thing, and you were like, oh, this guy has the big gun, this guy has the stick, this guy makes the jokes, this guy, you know, he's the captain, she's the main character who's kind of, you know, spearheading the whole operation. Things to me just didn't feel like they were that fleshed out. Each character just felt like they were their own little thing. It almost seems like you took one main character and then split them up into 6 main characters, and each character had their own little emotional thing, but they weren't fleshed out characters. They were just each little quirks to me. Now, outside of the character development, I think Rogue One is an outstanding film. I think the way the story eventually comes to a head is really brilliant. Although the first half of the movie I really found myself disliking. It wasn't even that it was just boring. I kind of actively disliked the first half of this movie. It felt a lot like Suicide Squad to me, and that they were just jumping from planet to planet showing certain characters and what they do. And Suicide Squad was, granted, a lot worse in its development of its characters, but this movie still kind of felt that way to me, that these characters were just being jumped around and you were just meant to understand exactly what was going on, and it just didn't really work for me. So the first half of the movie feels unnecessarily slow. But once you kind of turn to the second and third act of the film, it really picks up, and it's outstanding. Like I said, the last act of this movie is some of the most incredible filmmaking I've seen ever. I think it really brings a whole new dimension to the Star Wars universe when you realize what kind of space battles can happen in the Star Wars universe. I'm not a big space battle guy. I really prefer the more intimate lightsaber battles in the last 2 Star Wars movies in the original trilogy. And I have a couple friends who love their space battles. And I gotta tell you, this movie really changed my view of space battles. I think the space battle in this movie is possibly the best in all of cinema. I really believe that. It is absolutely outstanding. So Darth Vader is in this movie, and he's not in the movie that much, which kind of disappointed me, but at the same time I thought really worked for his character because this is not a Darth Vader movie, and I didn't go in expecting it to be a Darth Vader movie. So I was very happy whenever he was on screen, and I gotta say, when he's on screen, he is on screen, and he means business. There's a couple moments in this movie that I think are great. His first scene, a lot of people are saying didn't really work for them, but for me was possibly my favorite part of the entire movie. I thought it was brilliant, and I thought James Earl Jones comes back and nails Darth Vader once again. Ben Mendelsohn is in this movie, and he plays Orson Krennic, who is Empire leader and commander, and you really get a new sense of appreciation for the people who work for the Empire in this movie when you see Krennic and the struggle he goes through when he's talking to people like Vader and Tarkin, and it really works to further the Star Wars universe in a really new, refreshing way. Now, there is a couple characters in this movie that are digitally generated, as in they're completely CGI, and one of them really worked for me at first, and then once I watched it, really kind of took me out of the movie. There were moments where I really thought it worked, and I really appreciated the way that they did it, and then there were other moments where I just thought, this is an animated character. Now, the second character that's animated, I really didn't think worked that well. I mean, the character's only on screen for a few seconds, so it was okay, but I just didn't think was the greatest use of CGI in this movie, where CGI is on a great display. I think the computer-generated imagery in this movie is unbelievable. In the end, I don't think there's that much more to be said about Rogue One. I think it does a fantastic job expanding the Star Wars mythology, which was really the goal of Disney and Lucasfilm when making this movie, was to expand the universe and make it just bigger and more vast and more exciting, really, when you see characters like Orson Krennic or Donnie Yen who really give a new spin and dimension on the Star Wars universe. That's why, in the end, I'm going to give Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, a 3.5 out of 4. Thanks, guys. That's my review of Rogue One. I hope you liked it. I hope you drop me a subscribe, drop me a like, whatever it is you do here on YouTube, and I'll see you next week.